Welcome to the Fantasy Football News Week 6 edition. I, as always, am your magnificent host, Eric. We have a lot of ground to cover this week, including an editorial from a panel of special guests. So let's get right to it. First up this week is the Outcast League. Josh Allen had yet another great game for Randall Access Memories at 35.65 points. He continues to earn every bit of his paycheck while he is on the last year of his rookie deal. Unfortunately for RAM, he was the lone bright spot in this week 6 lineup, as only one other player, Dalvin Cook, with 14.8, broke the 10-point mark. The Ballhawks had great performances across their roster, including 19.3 points from C-Mac and 19.1 points from Breece Hall. A mediocre 16.3-point effort from A.A. Ron Rodgers was still enough here as the Ballhawks hold on for the win, 101.8 to 82.15. Week 7 will find Randall Access Memories on the motherboard against Mongo Mentality, while the Ballhawks get a visit from Timinators. Our second matchup was Saints for Life versus Stars and Stripes. Saints for Life came into this matchup at 2-3 and hoping to find some spark to return them to championship form. 19.3 points from Austin Eckler was the polish on this week's turd, as the rest of Amy's roster combined for just 57.55 points, as they regressed 72.25 points from last week. Mike's Stars and Stripes squad, led by Jamar Chase with 28.7 points and Jalen Hurts with 22.45 points, was easily able to handle this matchup as they pull off the win in a rematch of last year's championship matchup, 96.35 to 76.85. Next up for Saints for Life is a meeting at home with Rebel Scum. Stars and Stripes will be heading to the Kittle Dome for a matchup against Show Me Your Kittles. Our third matchup was Team Sesh versus Show Me Your Kittles. Team Sesh had an excellent week from Pat Mahomes with 27, Stephon Diggs with 25.8, and Mark Andrews with 20.1. They also had a goose egg from Zach Moss and a lethargic 1.3-point effort from Garrett Wilson. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of fantasy football. There's a time you got to go and show you're growing. Now you know about the facts of fantasy football. When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams, and suddenly you're finding out the facts of fantasy football are all about you. Show Me Your Kittles had no players break the 20-point barrier. Ken Walker was the high point at 18 points, with Russell Wilson close behind at 17.7. It was plenty, though, as Show Me Your Kittles improved 45.5 points from last week and pull off the win to serves Team Sesh with their first loss of the season. Final in this one, the Kittles won 10.9, Team Sesh 99.8. Team Sesh will travel to the stadium to do battle with the fantasy football team. Show Me Your Kittle gets a visit from Stars and Stripes next week. Our fourth matchup was Timinators versus Mongo Mentality. Our closest matchup this week featured the top and bottom teams in Division 1 as Mongo Mentality met up with Timinators. Justin Herbert still remains a top 10 scorer in the Outcast League, but this reporter can't help but think that it feels like he is underperforming, putting up only 10.8 points this week. Additionally, a 19.1-point game from Leonard Fournette was the top performance for Timinators here in Week 6. Mongo Mentality continues to rely on Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position as he scores a mediocre feeling 20.2 points, but is bolstered on the scoreboard by 4 other players scoring over the 12-point mark. Mongo Mentality wins this one 105.9 to 95. Timinators will face the Ballhawks in Week 7. Mongo Mentality heads out on the road as they face off against Randall Access Memories. Our final match in the Outcast League this week was marred by controversy as league commissioners, after the week was over, ruled that Rebel Scum tight end Taysom Hill was banned from Outcast League rosters. For more on this development, we turn to our expert panel. Welcome. On Monday, October 17th at 12:25 p.m., the league commissioners released a statement that effectively led to a ban of Saints tight end Taysom Hill being rostered by any team in the Outcast Fantasy League. That's right, Eric. Sources inside the Rebel Scum organization say that ownership was notified via text only moments before the press release and were caught entirely by surprise. This move, while seemingly championed by league leadership, seems to be a knee-jerk response to the fact that Taysom seldom actually plays in the tight end position and is well known for lining up in the quarterback role, where he has the potential, as some in the league have said, to wreck the game by allowing one team to potentially score quarterback-type points in the tight end slot. I have to say that I completely disagree with this assessment. If a player is listed as a tight end by the NFL, the Saints organization, and the RSO scorekeeping system, then that should be the start and finish of it. Hold on a minute, Eric. Why should one team be allowed to roster two quarterbacks? This would give them a huge advantage each week, as traditionally quarterbacks are the highest scorers in a given league. Listen, Taysom is averaging just 13.06 points per game this season, and that average is being drastically affected by one 36.3-point performance in Week 5 against the Seahawks' porous defense. Take away that performance, and he is averaging just 5.8 points per game. It seems to me that any fantasy team that chooses to start him in any position is really just gambling. We see even here in Week 6 that Rebel Scum only started Taysom as Darren Waller was on a bye week. This guy is in no more danger of breaking the league than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen are with their running prowess. Sometimes players do more than one thing, and reflecting that in the fantasy world is both more realistic and creates an opportunity for teams to take a high risk for a possible high reward, while also recognizing that the potential for a goose egg or a 5-point performance is far more likely. Come on, Eric. Lamar and Josh both line up as and are scored as quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have been running the ball as far back as football has been around. Comparing that to Taysom, who is listed as a tight end, but has lined up in the tight end slot for only, 15 snaps and has only one reception as of Week 5, is a bit disingenuous. Well, Eric, we're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one. Sources in the league office have stated that the commissioner is a stubborn and cranky old man who is unlikely to change his mind unless an ownership vote can be forced. We do, however, have here one final word on this matter, contributed from a loyal Fantasy Football News fan.
How many touchdowns must a tight end throw before you call him a quarterback? And how many rushes must a tight end run before you call him a running back? Yes, and how many points must a tight end score before he's forever banned? The answer, my friend, is they already banned him. The answer is they already banned him.
Well, okay then. Thank you for that. As stated, Rebel Scum did start Taysom Hill in his tight end slot in the place of Darren Waller, where he promptly scored 4.7 points. Those points were removed from Rebel Scum's score and, as of this report, have not been replaced. Sources inside the Rebel Scum locker room have said that they should be granted the 14.1 points scored by Hunter Henry, as he would have been the bye week replacement had it been known that Taysom was going to be ineligible. Despite the controversy at the tight end position, Rebel Scum was in shambles this week as they came off of a 3-0 week to go 0-3 across all three of the leagues they participate in. The fantasy football team saw Carson Wentz manage to escape with a win while scoring only 5.15 points, propped up by Tyreek Hill and Ramondre Stevenson, who managed 46.8 points combined. Final in this one was Rebel Scum 63.25 apparent points. The fantasy football team 111.55. Rebel Scum will face off against Saints for Life in week 6, while the fantasy football team gets a visit from Team Sesh. And now, the results of the $10 Outcast League weekly contest. The Week 6 contest was tight end with the most receiving yards. Connor wins this one with Travis Kelce grabbing 108 receiving yards this week. Congrats to Connor. Week 7's contest will be Blackjack. The player is closest to 21 points without going over will be the winner. Good luck. That will do it for our Outcast League scores. Stay tuned for the Op Soup League scores and the Crappy Decision segment coming up after these messages.
Some of Broadway's most famous dancers just found out what's under the dome. So did some of the world champion Pittsburgh Pirates. Even some Madison Junior High School parents. What's under the dome? Ultra Ban 5000, an antiperspirant spray that kept every group we had tested from 8 to 21% drier than with any leading spray. 8 to 21% drier with Ultra Ban 5000. Come on, get under the dome.
Welcome back, and let's start off right where we left off with Rebel Scum. Rebel Scum was on a record-tying 5-week winning streak coming into this matchup with Team Scott, and everything looked set for a monster win to set the new record. That was not to be, however, as 6 of 9 on Rebel Scum's roster were held to under 10 points, holding Rebel Scum to a league low of just 78.38 points total. On the flip side, Team Scott came into this match with a 2-3 record and looking to pull even at 500. Led by Trevor Lawrence with 26.9 points and Tyreek Hill with 24.2, Team Scott had no problem putting up points as they hit the weekly high score with 136.22. Team Scott was able to win this one in convincing fashion and now is 2-0 in league play versus Rebel Scum dating back to last year. Rebel Scum will get a shot at redemption against the Turf Burns this week, while Team Scott travels to the landfill to meet up with Garbage Time. Our second matchup was Don't Remember Didn't Happen versus Garbage Time. Speaking of Garbage Time, they had to be disappointed as their quarterback duo of A.A. Ron Rodgers and Carson Wentz manages just 18 points between them. Mediocre performances from the rest of the Garbage Time roster did not help in the effort. Don't Remember Didn't Happen managed 41.44 points from their quarterback team of Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo, a 130% increase over the beleaguered Garbage Time signal callers. 19.3 points from Eckler, as well as 15.7 from Travis Kelce, were enough to put the nail in Garbage Time's coffin, 120.14 to 104.7. Garbage Time gets the visit from Team Scott in Week 7, while DRDH will visit the Betsy Ross Field to take on Stars and Stripes. Our third matchup was Black Ops MC versus Sandlot Turf Burns. Had this matchup taken place in the NFL, this would have been a shoo-in for a premier position on Amazon's Thursday Night Football. Both teams stand at the bottom of their respective divisions and will likely need to string together some impressive wins, and quickly, if they hope to still be playing in January. Both teams managed to start running backs that were on the injured list, James Conner for the Turf Burns and Jonathan Taylor for Black Ops. And both teams saw a player or players score less than a single point. The only real bright spots on this one were 30.7 from Jamar Chase for Black Ops and 33.66 for Matt Ryan of the Turf Burns. A totally forgettable game this week, but Black Ops manages their first win of the season as they defeat the Turf Burns 95.82 to 82.28. The Turf Burns will head to Hoth for a match with Rebel Scum. Black Ops MC gets a visit from the 12th Man Mafia. Our fourth matchup was Generic Football Team versus Stars and Stripes. Kyler Murray was all but shut down on Sunday as he managed 15.38 points for Stars and Stripes. 1.2 points from Kareem Hunt were virtually no help, and a 2.8-point effort from Michael Gallup left the Stars and Stripes squad with no answer for the high-flying Generic Football Team. The GFT gets 40.5 from a suddenly resurgent Joe Burrow and then tacks on another 24.62 from Pat Mahomes. Michael Pittman and Breece Hall were the remaining heroes for Randy's GFT as he managed to win this one 137.22 to 124.28. Stars and Stripes gets a visit from Don't Remember Didn't Happen in Week 7. The GFT will take on Team 1051. And our final matchup in the Op Soup League was Team 1051 versus 12th Man Mafia. This was our final matchup here for the Op Soup League, and it was the only match that was finished after Sunday's slate of games. Team 1051 got decent performance from their running back core, with C-Mac and Leonard Foreman at net combining for 38.4 points, but lackluster numbers from Dallas Goedert and T. Higgins likely cost Team 1051 the win in this one. Veronica and the 12th Man Mafia saw another great week from number 1 overall pick Josh Allen with 32.86, while flex quarterback Marcus Mariota came up big with 28.16. Factor in a 20.6-point effort from Mark Andrews, and it was enough for 12th Man Mafia to overcome the goose egg from Elijah Moore. At the end of regulation, this one stood at Team 1051, 112.92, 12th Man Mafia, 119.72. Team 1051 will match up with the Generic Football Team coming up, while the 12th Man Mafia challenges Black Ops MC. What's that smell?
Who made a crappy decision? 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 Who? What? Made a crappy decision? They think. Crappy
everybody, it's me, Terry the Turd. And man, oh man, I smell a whole lot of crappy decisions this week. Let's get right into it. Had Jake started Brandon Ayuk over Garrett Wilson, he would have gained 23 points and easily won his matchup. Brandon made a crappy decision. Brandon made a crappy decision. Yeah, what was he thinking? If Tim had started Joe Burrow instead of Justin Herbert, he would be in the winner's circle for week 6. Tim made a crappy decision. Tim made a crappy decision. Yeah, what was he thinking? Had Mike of Stars and Stripes started Allen Robinson over Kareem Hunt, he escapes this match with a win. Mike made a crappy decision. Mike made a crappy decision. Yeah, what was he thinking? And finally, the crappiest decision that I have ever personally seen float by happened just this week as Outcast League commissioners banned an NFL player from participating in their fantasy league activities and took points off the scoreboard of a completed game. They made a crappy decision. Yeah, they made a crappy decision. Yeah, what were they thinking? That's me, Terry the Turd. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you back again in just a few weeks.
Thank you, Terry. That will do it for our coverage this week, folks. As always, feel free to leave me with comments, questions, or concerns, and I will do my best to respond in a timely manner. Remember that bye weeks have started, and your teams on week 7 bye are Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, and Philadelphia Eagles. If you have players from those teams, you will need to find replacements. Have a great week, everybody but Mike, and remember, here at Fantasy Football News, we're better than you.